In the vast history of human civilization, distant America was once considered an isolated existence. Lonely, frigid Siberia, and the boundless ocean nearly separated America from the cultural centers of the Old World. Situated outside the known frontier of civilization at the time, this clearly did not mean that America failed to develop its own civilization. Quite the opposite. The indigenous civilizations of America were unique and brilliant. Based on fossil footprints discovered at White Sands National Park in New Mexico, USA, evidence indicates that the earliest traces of human activity can be traced back to the Clovis culture, which thrived from 30,000 to 10,000 years ago. It was a typical early American culture. According to DNA analysis, the Clovis people share the same ancestry as modern Siberians. They were adept at using a variety of primitive and functional tools, while prehistoric mammals, mammoths, ancient bison, and dire wolves were also part of their diet. Moreover, over 100 different plant species also made it into their diet. Early theories generally held that the ancestors of the Americas had crossed over via the Bering Land Bridge connecting eastern Siberia and Alaska to reach America. However, recent archaeological discoveries indicate that some of the early migrants may have come by sea, possibly arriving from Polynesia or Japan. Advanced DNA analyses have even found evidence of migrants from Europe, but given that most present-day Native Americans share closer physical traits with Asians, these early migrants from other regions seem to have been phased out in the subsequent phase. Starting from around 800 BC, America entered its ancient era. In the early part of this period, most ancient Native Americans still relied on hunting and gathering for survival. Their tools were no different from those of the earlier migrants. But by the later part of the ancient era, significant changes began to occur. The range of activities of ancient Native Americans started to expand. They began using fishing nets, fishing hooks, and other new tools for fishing and hunting. They even used traps to capture small animals. Later still, around 1500 BC, agriculture began to emerge in America. In most parts of present-day USA, corn became the most important crop. In the future, this crop, cultivated by Native Americans, would become the highest-yielding food crop in the world. And with the advent of agriculture, fixed settlements began to form, leading American civilization to develop towards a more advanced state. The Inca Empire, established by the Incas, was once the largest empire in the Americas. In the early 15th century, it was just a small tribe in the Cusco Highlands. Under the leadership of a formidable figure named Pachacuti, it began a rapid expansion. By the early 16th century, almost the entire western region of South America, the Silver Sea area, was under Inca rule. To manage such a vast empire, the monarchical Inca Empire established its own administrative system and legal code. The Sapa Inca was both the monarch and the religious leader of the state. Legend has it that the title originated from Manco Capac, the legendary first Inca monarch. Although the Inca Empire did not have an independent judiciary or a codified legal code, it did possess a form of customary law. The Incas believed in Inca mythology, a polytheistic belief system in which the sun god was the most important deity. On June 24th of each year, which falls near the solstice, during the Incas' most important festival, the Sun Festival, the Incas would offer crops and livestock to thank the sun god for his gifts to mankind. It is estimated that, at its peak, the Inca Empire had a population ranging from nearly 4 million to 37 million. In addition to the Inca civilization, the Maya and Aztec civilizations were also key components of ancient American cultures. The Maya civilization in Mesoamerica began to form around 2000 BC, with a political structure somewhat similar to the city-states of ancient Greece, where complex diplomatic relations existed between various Maya city-states. At times, they were at odds with each other, and at other times, they allied, with some city-states even establishing regional hegemony. The Maya civilization possessed the most advanced writing system in the Americas and a sophisticated astronomical calendar, as well as mathematics and an agricultural system. Maya script is the only Mesoamerican writing system that has been largely deciphered, with about 90% of the Maya script now understood. The Maya recorded vast amounts of information in writing, including legends, history, and culture. Maya manuscripts written on bark paper are important documents of Maya civilization. And thanks to the Spanish, the few surviving precious Maya manuscripts number only 3 in the world. In the field of mathematics, the Maya possessed a counting system similar to that of the Arabs, but they used a vigesimal, base, 20 numeral system, composed of dots and bars, and introduced the concept of zero, which was a major mathematical achievement of the Maya. The Maya began using zero as early as the 4th century AD, making them one of the earliest civilizations in the world to use the concept of zero. The Maya's methods of calculation are truly admirable, with a numeral system that was even more precise than that of 15th century Europe. For instance, their solar calendar algorithm could achieve accuracy to 3 decimal places. Having such a complex and precise numeral system was not only due to an advanced technical system, but also to the Maya's passion for observing celestial bodies. Their astronomy, an extension of their religious culture, was used by Maya priests to understand the laws of the world and predict the future. Maya beliefs encompassed both polytheism and ancestor worship. And human sacrifice was their most elaborate form of ritual, such as during a new ruler's coronation or the completion of major constructions, where the Maya would perform human sacrifices. People of high status, such as enemy kings, were typically the preferred targets for sacrifice, while those of lower status were usually enslaved. Like other civilizations, which followed the cycle of rise and fall, the Maya civilization was no exception. After nearly half a century of prosperity, beginning with the collapse of state institutions, the Maya city-states experienced a collective political collapse. To this day, we still cannot pinpoint the exact causes of the Maya civilization's decline and collapse. It might have been due to environmental degradation caused by overpopulation, or warfare and unrest, or factors such as epidemics and natural disasters. After the Maya civilization, the Aztec civilization emerged as another major civilization in Mesoamerica. Aztec is a collective term for numerous tribes, the Aztecs, who called themselves the Mexica, around 1325 AD. The Mexica built a city by Lake Texcoco in central Mexico, which was named Tenochtitlan. Tenochtitlan gradually grew and emerged through alliances with neighboring tribes. And in order to become the most powerful city-state in Aztec civilization, before the arrival of the Spanish, by around 1500 AD, Tenochtitlan's population had exceeded 100,000. This was one of the major powers in Mesoamerica during the 15th to 16th centuries, the Aztec Empire, which established a city-state centered on Tenochtitlan. The original intent of this regime was to counter another local power, a military alliance defined by Azcapotzalco. But after Azcapotzalco was defeated, this tripartite alliance was maintained. Subsequently, with such formidable force, the alliance launched a vast expansion throughout Central America. Numerous tribes, unable to resist the might of the Aztec Empire, subsequently submitted to it. Although these conquered tribes were allowed a considerable degree of autonomy, they still inevitably faced heavy taxation under the Aztec system. These taxes were typically levied in forms such as antiquities, cloth, and livestock. Like other Central American societies, the Mexica also had their own religion. Their faith was a polytheistic system based on Aztec mythology. To appease the gods, the Mexica also practiced human sacrifice, and the scale and frequency of these rituals were unparalleled among other American civilizations. In their ceremonial worship, Mexica priests would extract the hearts of live sacrificial victims, offering them to the deities. Subsequently, the bodies would be thrown from the altar and dismembered. They were then shared among the people, whether in Maya civilization or in the Aztec Empire. Although they were long the centers of North and Central American civilizations, compared to contemporary European societies, they were still far behind. Perhaps it is hard to imagine that until the late 16th century, the Americas had yet to invent wheeled vehicles and iron smelting technology. As for why American civilizations lagged so far behind those in Europe, some people believe it was due to the north-south orientation of the American landmass, with its significant climatic differences between north and south, which hindered the spread of species and culture. Others argue that the Americas lacked large domesticable animals such as horses and cattle, or even sheep. As a result, productivity and technological development in the Americas were severely limited, and this backwardness, caused by all these factors, would eventually bring enormous troubles to the continent. Although early North America did not develop civilizations to the extent of the Inca, the Maya, or the Aztec, this does not mean that it was a cultural vacuum. In fact, complex and diverse civilizations and social groups also existed here. For example, in the Arctic region, the Inuit, who survived by hunting seals. In the western regions, the Pueblo people, builders of flat-roofed houses, lived in the forested areas of what is now the eastern United States. Neighboring Native Americans practicing agriculture and foraging inhabited the Great Plains, along with Plains Indians who primarily relied on hunting, among others. In some Native American tribes in North America, many were matriarchal. For instance, among the Native American groups, the Iroquois, men were responsible for hunting, fighting, and clearing wilderness, while women stayed at home, tending the fields and children. As a result, Iroquois women often controlled the social and economic organization. Overall, while Native American societies in North America displayed remarkable diversity, they also appeared somewhat fragmented. Among some tribes, even if they spoke the same language, they still considered each other as belonging to different cultures. Therefore, when Europeans eventually began to threaten their way of life, they were unable to unite effectively, which was one of the key reasons for their inability to resist the white invasion. In their view, those white people with their different skin color were merely from another tribe. Looking back at 15th century North America, the daily routine of rising with the sun and resting at sunset, though monotonous, was at least generally peaceful and stable. But these Native Americans of North America never imagined. Just as they were gradually rising in their social customs and etiquette, an epidemic was occurring in a world beyond their understanding. And the power from this unknown world would in the future render all their originally worshipped and revered gods, or the protection of new gods, completely ineffective. A catastrophic epidemic was about to break out on the American continent.